Folks, you're not going to believe it, but I've never actually watched a Michael Knowles video. This is Michael Knowles Takes the Political Compass quiz. It's a little bit old, but I did the same thing for Ben Shapiro, and these guys tend to be uniformly fucking stupid, so I thought it might be... Oh, wait, sorry. We're trying to pull over the Knowles fans. I was impressed by how suave and gentlemanly his sweater was, and I just wanted to hear his perspective on these political issues. Let's go.
I'm very excited to take the political compass test.
Wow.
It's become very popular because people are obsessed with themselves. They don't really care about politics or anything. They just want to answer questions about themselves for like 15 or 20 minutes.
I've said this before, but I do agree with this. I think this is generally true. People take political compass tests the same way they take horoscope tests. They just want to like get a cute little pinup they can do of themselves. They don't actually care about like the underlying political ramifications.
So listen, I'm not better than that. I'll go right in and do it. I remember I saw this test a while ago. I remember it was kind of a left-wing thing, like I didn't agree with all the questions. But I guess we'll just have to see.
Yeah.
So it's
Ben Shapiro did the same. Ben Shapiro did the same thing. He said he didn't agree with the questions. Oh yeah, like he was like offended by the framing, the phraseology. That's right.
Left-right line, we know that difference. And then there's another axis, which is authoritarian or libertarian, meaning you could be a left libertarian. That would be...
I like, by the way, how fascism is apparently like authoritarian center and not authoritarian right. Hitler's right over here. Just like, doesn't far right mean private, like marketization? Hitler privatized the fuck out of his whatever. Anyway, the political compass test is really, really, really bad. I've said this before, but I don't think that there's any real such thing as like authoritarian left or libertarian right. And that in reality, you have a very thin spectrum along which political and economic rights tend to be heavily correlated. You generally don't afford economic rights to the politically disprivileged and vice versa.
Or libertarian, meaning you could be a left libertarian, that would be some like free love hippie, right? And then you could be a left totalitarian or authoritarian, that would be like Bernie Sanders, whose honeymoon's in the Soviet Union. Or you
Yes, there you go. The authoritarian Bernie Sanders.
Could be a right-wing libertarian, which would be sort of like Rand Paul or Ron Paul, his father, or you could be a right-wing authoritarian, which would be like Genghis Khan or Attila the Hun.
What? Wait, I know why he said that. Okay, first of all, Genghis Khan and Attila the Hun don't fit anywhere in this shit. Like, you have no fucking idea what the politics are of Genghis Khan. You know why he went to Genghis Khan? Because he's one of these people who pushes the narrative that Hitler was a leftist. So he couldn't say Hitler. If he had said Hitler, Mussolini, or any other far-right dictator we tend to associate, he would have been implying that they were right-leaning. He didn't want to. So for him, a right-leaning dictator, he has to go back 1,000 years to some... Yeah. That's why he couldn't do it.
I bet I'm going to be closer to Genghis Khan and Attila the Hun, but we will answer the questions and wait and see.
You have to fuck up really bad to get authoritarian right on this test, by the way. You have to like when you get to like the baby eating question, you know, like you have to answer incorrectly. You have to answer like an evil character gets played in like a fucking RPG, you know?
First question. If economic globalization is inevitable, so right off the bat, we know that this test is just bogus because globalization is not inevitable.
It says if, you fucking Are you fucking kidding me? It says if. Do you... Okay.
We proceed. If economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interests of
Oh, by the way, I'm just going to say this once. I have a feeling that I'm going to want to repeat it a bunch of times, but it's been speculated that the ability to understand hypotheticals is one of the greatest catalysts for human intellectual development, like over the past couple hundred years. So people who can't understand or who reject hypotheticals are operating at like a lower evolutionary perspective than like us big brain savants in chat are.
Transnational corporations. Well, to quote Mitt Romney, corporations are people, my friend. So it's hard to draw that neat distinction. This is an extremely dumb question. But I guess if at the heart of this question is, should economics serve purely abstract ends or should it serve human ends, then it should serve human ends. Very dumb question. So I am going to agree. I won't strongly agree, but I'll agree.
I feel like he's outsmarting himself here. It's pretty obvious. Assuming economic globalization is inevitable, it should serve humanity rather than the corporations. But he can't accept the idea that how is serving corporations like a higher abstract idea? It's just which material group. Oh God, this is the first question. Oh God.
I'd always support my country whether it was right or wrong. Agree.
Okay.
Of course I would. How can your country be wrong, just like completely, totally wrong? It can go through challenging political times, it can have bad or dumb leaders, but your country itself is your country. I could no more renounce my country than I could renounce my own family. No one.
Wow, nationalism is a fucking disease, dude. Holy shit. Holy God. Is this how libertarians feel when they listen to sock dems? Because I just want to call him like a statist and throw him in a garbage chute. Jesus Christ. What a submissively minded person.
One chooses his or her country at birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it. Well, it's foolish to be proud of everything, because pride goeth before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. However, I suspect the way this test is using pride is like affection or loyalty or love of country. That's
No, it means pride, not affection. Pride.
often what people mean when they say national pride. So I will strongly disagree with that. Our race has many superior qualities compared with other races. Well, obviously.
He can't. This is, you can't answer. You have to bite the bullet on this one. You have to say no.
If we're referring to the Sicilians, my swarthy skin would be something. Our ability to knead pasta is a superior quality. This is a tricky question because I suspect what they're getting at is civilization or culture. Very often you'll hear civilizations referred to as a race, but that's very different.
No, Sicilian is an ethnicity. It's not even an ethnic. It's like a sub-ethnicity. It's race. Black, white, Asian. Race. The same definition of race everybody else uses colloquially. Are you fucking kidding me? Again, this is how you know when you're watching a very big brain individual. They try to outsmart the test that is meant to be understood by 8th graders.
Different than the sort of essentialist biological sense of race, which is, you know, how we're born. It's difficult to know what they're saying. Probably we should err on the side of them writing a very bad question here. And since there is neither Jew nor Greek nor slave nor bond in Christ Jesus, I have to vote against the apparent racism. I will say that I disagree with that.
Just disagree, not strongly disagree. This is the most softball answer in the fucking universe, and he still can't. Okay. He knows exactly what he's doing here, by the way.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Yeah, I agree.
It's a meaningless
friend
question.
for a time, maybe not your friend forever, but certainly for a time. That's how politics works. That's all how human relations work.
That's not, no,
as well.
it's not,
Military action that defies international law is sometimes justified. Well, there's no such thing as international law, so I guess I strongly agree with that.
This man's brain is incredible. What the fuck do you mean there's no such thing as international law? Does he think that like law is like a magical force field that only exists within the barriers of nation states? What the fuck is Interpol then? Yeah, this guy's definitely gonna get auth right. This dude is a fucking lunatic.
There is now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment. I strongly disagree with
I know you would, my friend, my Daily Wire patrician.
that. I love these people, you know, the people who complain about entertainment and politics going together, as if that hadn't always been the case. If going back to ancient Greece and Pericles, when we refer to the greatest, most entertaining orations of all time, we're not talking about the most famous politician. How about Abraham Lincoln? You think that guy wasn't entertaining? He did a roadshow with Stephen Douglas.
This is half true. Politics and entertainment have always been overlapped significantly. That doesn't mean it's good. It's just a thing people do.
Give me a break. Best presidents of our recent history. Ronald Reagan, Hollywood actor. Donald Trump, reality TV host. People are ultimately divided more by class than nationality.
He has to disagree with this one. He's a fascist. He believes in class collaborationism.
Strongly disagree. That's what Marx thought, and it turned out not to be true.
And it turned out to be 100% true. He's still right. Still mad. Marx dabbing on fascists 150 years later.
And we saw that play out in the 20th century.
That's not what you saw play out. You don't know what that is.
Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. Really, you can do two things at one time. You don't need to just pick one or the other. But I think at the heart of this question, should we prioritize abstract economic concepts or should we prioritize people? And I would probably prioritize people. Now,
inflation isn't an abstract concept, you fucking brainlet. It's a literal thing that immediately affects the purchasing power of real human beings.
The argument for saying inflation is more important here is because then everybody's property diminishes in value. But the argument for
I love how you can get signs of these people's minds inner working. Not property, their purchasing power. When he thinks of inflation, he only thinks of the value of the land he owns because he's wealthy. But for the vast majority of Americans, it would refer to their purchasing power because poor people are way more likely to spend their income on commodity consumption because they need to relative to their income to survive, food, that sort of thing.
We're saying unemployment is the bigger issue is that people are made to work. From the moment that our first father Adam was in the Garden of Eden, he had a job to do. He was naming the creatures, he was gardening. Then he gets kicked out of the garden and he's got to till the soil and get his food from the sweat of his brow. So
you might say that work sets us free?
Employment here is very important to the human person. I will disagree. Because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require regulation. I agree. A lot less regulation than we have right now, but in principle I agree. For me,
wait. America today, so you agree corporations need environmental regulation, but right now today in Donald Trump's administration, we've gone too far? You agree with the premise, but this is too far? What regulation are you limiting them at? Like a $5 fine in case they dump nuclear waste into the fucking Mississippi? Like what exactly is the and that's it? Like that's the only regulation?
Each according to his ability to each according to his need is a fundamentally good idea.
No, that's what Marx believed.
Strongly disagree. That's Marx's idea. It's immoral and just as a
this guy couldn't explain how it's immoral if I held a gun to his fucking head. This guy has no idea.
Practical matter, it never ever works. And actually, at the founding of our own country, after the Pilgrims landed here from the Mayflower, they got out, they tried to practice this idea of
our country wasn't founded when Pilgrims left the Mayflower. What?
From each according to his ability to each according to his need. And it turned out nobody worked because some other guy would work for him and then you would get according to your needs. So
what? What the fuck you... Oh, is that why Jamestown failed? Because everyone was lazy? I think he's just completely making this up. Ah, yes, the communist pilgrims of Jamestown. Yeah, Karl Marx. When he says Karl Marx is an evil ideologue, it's because he hasn't forgiven him. He hasn't forgiven him for what happened to Jamestown. This is completely made up. Yeah, no shit, dude. You think that people would travel across the Atlantic Ocean to settle an unfounded, at least unfounded to them, territory and establish a colony with a weak work ethic? They were fucking settlers. These people work their asses off. All right, just...
Strongly disagree. It's a sad reflection on our society that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled, branded consumer product. Now, it's a wonderful reflection on our society that we have so many choices in drinking water. So we can either slum it with the tap water or we can go with the fancy Fiji. And we get to choose which one we want. Works for me, man. Strongly disagree. Land shouldn't...
I mean, we could have expected that one, right? Remember when you, yeah, was that like fucking, did he get like a sponsorship for that? I don't care that much about bottled water. I don't fucking know. I think that tap water should be free. When you buy bottled water, you're buying the plastic container, really, which can be convenient. Which is why what we all need to do is we need to buy cool fucking one-time purchases of big jugs. Look, big jug. See? Now I don't pay a goddamn dime. Big jug.
Shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold. Well, what should it be? What's the alternative?
What's the alternative to a commodity? Let me just, what is capitalist realism? Let me think. Is there any state of being for something apart from it being something to be sold and bought? Let me massage my onions over here for a second. Nope, can't think of anything else.
What the left wants to pretend is the alternative is we're all just living like kumbaya, having a great time. But really,
or just decommodification,
land will always be a commodity that is controlled by a person or a group of people. The question is,
that's not what a commodity means.
Do you want it to be controlled by people like you and me, or by the government, for instance? Certainly not the government.
Wait, the government represents the people. If corporations don't represent the people. Wait, what the fuck does that mean? If I would rather it being owned by... I like how he says people like you and me, like he's not like some wealthy plutocrat and the people watching aren't like 16-year-olds in high school.
So I strongly disagree with that. It is regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to society. Who is that? Who does that refer to? Probably the nincompoop who wrote this question thinks it refers to people on Wall Street, like investors or bankers or something, as though they're just sitting at a desk like shuffling piles of money around. That's not how the financial services industry works.
You're right. Now it's machines do that instead of the humans, and people just make money off the machines doing that rather than shuffling it themselves. Are you fucking kidding me? I forget the technical term for this, but there's an actual measurement of how much wealth in this country is being made off of real things and how much of it is being generated off of speculation that exists only in some sort of hypothetical suspended... Oh man, I wish I knew more about the stock market, because there's a really, really interesting fucking... I've read some really interesting articles, but it was over a year ago. But there are mathematical ways of determining how representative Wall Street investment is in actual existing wealth. And it is provable that Wall Street is full of systems which just procure money or absorb money while doing nothing. That is a thing, but I'd need to look more into it to be able to specifically rebut the claim.
Financial services adds liquidity to markets. Investors invest money in companies that create jobs, that create products. It's so dumb. So I reject the premise of the question.
That's not what they were talking. Okay.
But even getting at what they try to say strongly.
This guy is so fucking dumb. If you disagree, then you are rejecting the question. The point, this is a statement you're meant to agree or disagree with. If you disagree, you are inherently rejecting the question. You don't say, I reject the premise of this question, and also I disagree with the premise of this question. What, like, he thinks that he's, like, repudiating the quiz. His disagreement is a component of the allowed range of thought in response to this question.
Disagree. Protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade. Strongly agree.
Don't doubt it.
The only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver a profit to its shareholders. I disagree with that. I mean, it's hard. I'm right in the center.
It's also serving God and your race and your country, of course.
On that. I mean, that is the primary objective of a company, is to deliver a profit to its shareholders. But a company does have other roles in society. And actually, the reason it's complicated is because the neglect of those roles in society can generate a lot of bad PR and ultimately stop the shareholders from getting their profits.
Okay, so you don't actually care about these other things. You only care about them because they're a component of shareholder profits.
So, dumb question. Really, I would throw the whole thing out. But if I have to try to get at the heart of what it's saying, I guess I would slightly disagree. The rich...
It's not a dumb question at all. How do you... He keeps thinking he's smarter than the test, and then he answers in ways that are completely accounted for by the test. This guy doesn't realize he's not smarter than this test. I've gone over this test. I think there are legitimate problems with how it functions, with how the test is phrased and what have you. I think that's a real thing, okay? But this guy's like attempts to outsmart it, or just him being like, I disagree with this question, and then he clicks disagree. And he thinks that's like refuting the premise.
Are too highly taxed. Strongly agree. The rich pay all the taxes in this country. And so...
Wait, I'm sorry, what was that?
Too highly taxed. Strongly agree. The rich pay all the taxes in this country.
That is objectively not the case. Here, we can hold on. What % of taxes are paid by wealthy. The top 1% in this country pays about a third of a third of the total taxes. How much wealth does the 1% control? How much wealth does the 1% own? And the 1% owns slightly more than a third of the country's wealth in 2016, at least, which means that the wealthy are paying an amount exactly proportional to their to the total amount of wealth they control in this country, which is not nearly enough.
And so, sure, the vast majority of taxes in this country, and so yeah, I think they were probably too highly taxed. I can't wait to become one of
objectively do not.
Those rich who is too highly taxed, and then maybe we'll lower them. Those with the ability to pay should.
Very nice. Glad that he's literally just admitting his only interest here is because one day he can be the millionaire. Wait, hold on. How rich is this guy? Michael Knowles net worth. Is he wealthy enough to even have like a net worth? The estimated net worth of Michael Knowles is at least $1.5 million. My dude. Dude. Yeah, it's true. You can't trust those sites. One of those sites put me at being a millionaire too. So I don't fucking know. That's above average, but not insane or anything. Yeah, but he's like, people like you and me, you know, maybe one day I'll be wealthy and then I'll complain about the tax rate or something like that. And he's doing fine.
Have access to higher standards of medical care. That's not even a normative question, like should or should not. It is simply a descriptive matter that it has always been and will always be the case. I'm going to kill myself. That people with more money have access to more stuff. Any reason?
No, that is not true. There are countries on Earth right now where the amount of wealth you have does not determine the medical care that you get.
A reasonable person would have to strongly agree with that, not as a matter of should or should not, but it's just the way the world always works. It's like
prescriptive
the sun should
question.
Shine. Strongly disagree. Well, okay, man. Good luck with that one. Governments.
It's asking you a prescriptive question, and he's like, "Oh, well, this is descriptive." If a question said, there should be no rape in the world, agree or disagree, and then this guy would go, "Oh, well, just descriptively, there is rape in the world. So I'm gonna have to disagree because descriptively, there is rape in the world." He's so fucking stupid.
Should penalize businesses that mislead the public. What do you mean mislead the public? If we're talking about how markets do need structures around them and guardrails, then sure, I guess I slightly agree. But again, very dumb question. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals to create monopolies. Yeah.
Yeah, Adam Smith believed that.
Free markets need to protect against certain monopolies, sure. The freer the market, the freer the people. Yeah, generally that's true. Not always, though. You know, especially when you look at the international sphere, if you have no barriers to trade, for instance, and you're outsourcing all of your jobs to another country, and some other country is not playing fairly, and they have a ton of barriers to trade, and they're illegally subsidizing their aluminum industry, and I'm actually just talking...
Wait, what do you mean illegally subsidizing their aluminum industry? How can it be illegal if they're subsidizing it? Do you mean illegal by international law, the thing you think doesn't exist? Did he say aluminum?
About China here, then certainly it is not the case that the freer the market, the freer the people. So I guess I kind of agree, but you know, come on, right back.
Wait, by what standard? If they impose subsidies or tariffs, that's the right of their country. You're the one who just said that countries should engage in protectionism. He has so many competing ideas here. So it's okay for a country to be protectionist, but you should be able to have corporate controls and government regulation, but not too much. But then it's illegal to do other countries for them to do their thing, but international law doesn't exist. Yeah, this guy might actually end up being a centrist for how many fucking conflicting positions he has. I guarantee you this guy's given absolutely no thought to any of them.
Better questions, guys. Abortion, when the woman's life is not threatened, should always be illegal. Strongly agree. Yep. All authority should be questioned. It's very difficult to make that statement because...
You already said that you don't believe your country can do wrong, motherfucker, okay? You've already said your country can do no wrong, okay? Your answer here is strongly disagree. It doesn't matter what you answer here. Your answer is strongly disagree.
Because any rational discourse has to begin with certain premises. A equals A. A plus B equals B plus A.
Questioning authority doesn't mean questioning epistemic values. When they say, you should question authority, they don't mean you should become a fucking hyper-skeptic.
I can't, like, prove those things, but that's where I begin from my assertion. Like, I would have to assume, if I'm having a rational discourse, that truth exists. So you have to assume certain things. Chesterton put it well. He said, there is a thought that stops thought, and that is the only thought that ought to be stopped. So I have to very slightly disagree. And
again, the authority they're talking about is not like mathematical truisms. I have no fucking idea. Again, he's trying to outsmart the quiz again. He's like, oh, should you question all authority? Well, what about the authority of the great mathematician Pythagoras when he determined that if you square the lengths of two sides of a triangle that you arrive at the square root of the length of the third end? Is that the authority you want to question? Whatever. I think I stammered on a couple of words there. Whatever.
For an eye and a tooth for a tooth. That's a description of justice, but then forgive your enemies and pray for your persecutors is a description of mercy. So I guess as a description of justice, I agree with that. But what is it describing? Taxpayer.
What? Dude, these questions are prescriptive. If they were descriptive, they would be asking you math questions. They're prescriptive. They're asking you for your opinion. What do you think justice should be? This guy keeps answering in authoritarian ways, but then he's like, well, I have to do this because if you misinterpret the question in a very specific way, then this is the descriptive answer you must arrive at. I'm gonna kill myself.
Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theaters or museums that cannot survive on a commercial basis. I disagree with that. Schools should not make classroom...
Wait! You think taxpayers should be subsidizing art that can't survive What positions do you hold? I swear to God, this dude's going soft Nazi on us. There's a reason why he didn't mention Hitler as an example of auth-right. Everything that he's talking about, from protectionism to he couldn't even answer strongly disagree on the racial superiority thing, to not questioning authority, to believing in subsidizing art. I feel like he's just circling the wagon around Nazism right here. Wait, shouldn't we prop up all art? If you believe if you're a highly ethnocentric nationalist who believes we should prop up art, but then rely on the free market and other elements, you're probably talking about propping up nationalistic or ethnocentric art. Very rarely do authoritarian governments prop up just any old fucking artist who wants to get a grant. They usually prop up artists who align with the national interest.
Attendance compulsory. I strongly disagree with that. Okay. All people have their rights, but it is better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep to their own kind. So what the hell does that mean?
You know what it means, you fucking dipshit. Just answer the question. I actually feel like I'm watching an alt-righter here. He's like, did you guys ever see Nick Fuentes take his fucking quiz? He does the same thing. It's like, when he gets the question about racial differences, he's like, I don't know what you mean by that. I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at it. It's very weird. I don't know. I guess I might have to click this answer that says I agree with it, but I don't know. I mean, God, what a fucking brainlet, dude. Okay, somebody told me to take a look at his Twitter because recently he tweeted something very dumb that belied an unfamiliarity with the English language, and it's true. Michael Knowles, in response to a Facebook post from Barack Obama, says, "What a ridiculous word," while highlighting impactful. How precisely can something be full of impact? Yeah, this is the pinnacle of the intellectual dark web. I actually can't believe this isn't satire. This is actually extraordinary to me. Well, dictionaries and the English language BTFO'd, I guess.
I guess I'm going to disagree with that.
Oh, wait.
What the hell does that mean? I guess I'm going to disagree with that.
He can't strongly disagree with it. It's better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep to their own kind, and he can't strongly disagree with it. Dude knows exactly what the fuck he's doing. If this guy ends up going full fucking white nationalist sometime in the next 4 years, I would not be even remotely surprised. This guy's way more open with it than Ben Shapiro is. And he's so much stupider than Shapiro, too. Shapiro didn't try this hard to outsmart the test in ways that signified how unintelligent he is.
I don't even know where that's going.
Yes, you do! The fact that you're laughing means you know what it is. You know! And you still didn't put strongly disagree.
Sometimes have to spank their children. Yeah, I guess so. Not a huge fan of corporal punishment, but, you know, sometimes you gotta do it, I guess.
Except you said yes to an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, so there's another enlightened, centrist, incompatible position?
It's natural for children to keep some secrets from their parents. Yeah, it's natural. Probably shouldn't encourage it if you're a parent, but that is natural. Strongly agree. Possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offense.
Again, he doesn't realize that's a prescriptive question, not a descriptive question, so he's answering strongly agree because he thinks he's supposed to identify how accurate the statement is. He knows he's taking a political compass test, right? Like, this is meant to determine your perspectives on life, there isn't like a right or a wrong answer where you fail if you put disagree, and then the test says, actually, it is natural for children to keep some secrets from their parents.
Disagree. I don't really care. I just hate that potheads try to make marijuana legalization like the civil rights struggle of our times. Give me a break, guys. Good grief. It's also
I do not want to hear about fucking tilting at windmills from a fucking conservative thought leader, okay? You motherfuckers talk about the war on Christmas like it was fucking Normandy, okay? Shut the fuck up.
Also different than booze in that booze has always been in our civilization, going back to the ancient old-timey days. Christ's first miracle is turning water into wine for drunk people. So it's been around a long time, you know, that's why prohibition didn't work. But marijuana is just some new foreign lib thing, so...
Weed has been around for fucking ages. Like, weed has been around forever. Weed has been around for far longer than the United States of America has been around. Foreign lib thing? Is that a dog whistle?
It seems to me better not to introduce that into our culture. The prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to find jobs. Strongly disagree with that. People with serious inheritable disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce. Strongly disagree with that.
Okay.
The left, I think, strongly agrees with that. You know, in Iceland last year, there was a headline, they said, Iceland has eradicated Down syndrome. I said, you eradicated it what? Like you came up with a cure for it? And it turned out, no, they just kill all the people who have Down syndrome in the womb. So,
you mean the parents consent to abort those children? So, oh God, first of all, he thinks he's being smart again. Okay, first of all, people with serious inheritable disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce. This is a question about whether or not the state should disallow people with inheritable disabilities from reproducing, okay? This has nothing to do with the right to abortion if you know your child is going to have Down syndrome. It's not the same thing.
So that's not good. The most important thing for children to learn is to accept discipline. Dumb question, but I guess I'll agree. There are no...
How is it dumb? You notice how this guy agrees with every question he thinks is dumb? You notice that pattern, right? Like every time he says a question is dumb, he ends up agreeing with it. Isn't that like eugenics? Yeah, it's a kind of soft eugenics. I think that people have a right to have an abortion, and if they don't want to go through the stresses of having a child with Down syndrome, I think they have a right to have that abortion. But I think that's a very personal decision that they have to make with the consultation of their doctors and the people around them. I don't think it's easy for us to talk about that, and frankly, I don't think it's very easy for us to make fair and reasonable judgments about other people's life decisions with regards to that sort of thing.
Savage and civilized peoples. There are only different cultures. Strongly disagree.
We know.
Because I have eyes. So, you know, you look around, I mean, gosh, look at so many modern cultures. They're more savage than tribal cultures. Those who are able to...
I don't even know. Is he saying we're less civilized than the Native American? I don't even know. Okay.
work and refuse the opportunity should not expect society's support.
He's gonna agree, of course.
When you are troubled, it's better not to think about it, but to keep busy with...
I think he's going to agree with this one. I could be wrong. I haven't seen this video before, but I find that authoritarian-minded people tend to agree with this one because they don't like introspection. Introspection is the enemy of the authoritarian mindset. You want to stay quiet, keep your nose to the ground, and look up only when it's to lick the boots of the person above you. You don't want to think. So that's my guess.
More cheerful things. I guess I do agree with that. First-generation immigrants can never be fully integrated within their new country. I disagree with that. What's good for the most successful corporations is always ultimately good for all of us. Strongly disagree with that. Corporations and corporate America is probably the leading leftist institution in the country.
How do you arrive at the correct conclusion for the most incorrect reasons? Ah, yes, dude. The abolition of capital truly being led to the forefront by fucking Sears and Nesquik. What?
They're the ones who go along to get along with anything because all they care about is dollars and cents. So...
You literally just said we should deregulate industries. Okay, so he wants to deregulate industries when it comes to environmental protections, but he thinks that corporations are the enemy of the people when it comes to their woke BLM virtue signaling. But he also believes that corporations are people and that there's no real difference between corporations serving themselves and serving humanity. But, yeah. This guy is this guy's like a compass that always points wrong. This guy's amazing.
It might be in their interest to embrace some stupid gender theory or something, but... Certainly not in our interest. No broadcasting institution, however independent its content, should receive public funding. No, I disagree with that. You need broadcast for certain public functions, but...
Yeah, I need C-SPAN, okay? They're the only fucking news channel I can safely live stream on.
I do agree that we should probably pull some funding from those left-wingers at NPR. Our civil liberties are being...
Remember, his version of left-winger here is just person who says factual information. You're a left-winger to these people if you accurately cover information.
Being excessively curbed in the name of counterterrorism. I disagree. A significant advantage of a one-party state is that it avoids all the arguments that delay progress in a democratic political system. I disagree with that because we won the Cold War, so it seems like we had the advantage. Although
that is a tenuous connection at best. You think you won the Cold War because the Soviet Union was autocratic? Not because of your superior economic capacity or... Okay.
The electronic age makes official surveillance easier. Only wrongdoers need to be worried. I strongly disagree with that. You kidding me? You got the government blackmailing you for that weird thing that you do when you close the blinds? I don't think so. The death penalty should be an option for the most serious crimes.
I'm sure this guy then has absolutely no issue whatsoever with the incredibly invasive surveillance and a violation of our First Amendment rights that the Trump administration has engaged in? No?
Strongly agree with that. The purpose of criminal justice is justice. A secondary advantage of criminal justice is rehabilitation. A tertiary advantage is deterrence.
Wow. This guy's like an actual, like, caveman. That's amazing. Oh yeah, dude, we pour tens of billions of dollars into the criminal justice system specifically so we can punish people for doing bad things. You put it into A, separate criminals from non-criminal society, thus reducing potential harm, B, rehabilitate, and C, deter. Those are the reasons the criminal justice system exists. You're literally like a fucking monkey, dude. Bring me more criminal skulls. It's funny because you just made the comment that there are some tribal societies that are less savage than the one we currently live in, and I completely fucking agree. Troglodytes like you are unironically more savage than anything we've ever been able to find at any point in the fucking Americas prior, you know? With all the information, technology, and resources we have available to us today, people who would still defer towards fucking retribution as the primary motivator of our criminal justice system, these people are unevolved. Like, this is a very, 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 like, simple skull-shaped cube, perhaps, somewhere in there.
But the point of it is the justice. It is retributive. It's you commit a crime.
I don't pay my tax dollars so the government can bludgeon people in fucking Jail. That is not what I pay my tax dollars for.
Crime, you got to get punished for it. And hanging concentrates the mind wonderfully, as Dr. Johnson once observed.
Absolutely barbaric. Just a barbaric, savage person. Unevolved.
In a civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed and people below.
He has to agree with this.
To be commanded. Well, all civilization has had hierarchy. So, yes, of course. Abstract art that doesn't represent anything shouldn't be considered art at all. Well, this is a dumb question because...
Oh, my God.
Abstract art, by definition, represents something. It's abstract, right? It's not a still life of an apple or something. It's abstract, so it is representative of something else. But very often, it's just complete nonsense. And right, that should not be considered art. In order for something to be art...
Knew it. Absolutely knew it. Authoritarians have to, they have to bite the bullet on this. Authoritarians generally believe that art either serves the interest of the race or nation, or it's degenerate. Authoritarians hate art like this. If you take a look at the art of the Stalin era in the USSR, or the art of, like, Nazi Germany, it's very, very propagandistic. It's very realistic, it's very romantic, it's stories of soldiers marching bravely into the unknown to conquer distant lands. But then if you look at the art of the pre-Stalin era Soviet Union, or if you look at the art of the Weimar Republic, they were way more abstract, way more expressionist, way more surreal. And the reason for that is because surreal or abstract art encourage critical thinking. What is art? What does this say? The answer isn't given to you. You find the answer in the paint, in the text. And authoritarians hate that.
It has to be creative, not just a bunch of blotches that you randomly throw on a canvas. Not a well-phrased question, but I strongly agree.
Fucking knew it.
Criminal
well, you can argue with curators about Jackson Pollock, okay?
Justice, punishment should be more important than rehabilitation.
Yeah.
I just said that. It's like they're reading my mind. Yes, strongly.
Why? What does punishment do? What is the purpose of punishment? What is the point? If you think that punishment is value because it rehabilitates criminals, then rehabilitation is the ultimate goal there. Punishment can be useful if it serves rehabilitation, but if it doesn't, what's the point? It makes them feel good, that's it. It makes their peepees feel good, so we can jerk off imagining all the fucking black people in jail for fucking marijuana offenses.
I agree. It is a waste of time to try to rehabilitate some criminals. What do they mean by that? Do they mean some criminals are beyond rehabilitation? That's true. But do they mean that we shouldn't rehabilitate any criminals? No, that's crazy.
It said some. Wait, what do you mean any? It said some right there. How do you... It said some. Right there, it says some. This man is literally subliterate.
Strongly disagree. The business person and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and the artist. Well, yes, in that they keep the blood moving through our economy, right? They keep things going. If you didn't have people to come and fix your toilet, then civilization would collapse in about a week or so. But, of course, when we think about civilization, we think about culture. That's what defines a civilization. So I will disagree with that. Everybody has a role to play.
Okay.
Mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers. I assume by homemaker, they're not just referring to making sandwiches. I assume by homemaker, they're referring to raising children. If you're a mother, then you do have a responsibility to raise children, and it's more important, if you have children, than making some widget at a factory. So sure, yeah, I agree with that. Again.
I like how... So this, you know this guy wants his women barefoot and pregnant. Like, you know that's what he wants. But he knew that he couldn't just say that, so he had to imagine that this question was presupposing that the mother already has a child. So he's like, oh, well, obviously, if you already have a kid, you should prioritize being a parent, which nobody would disagree with. It's more of an abstract question about whether or not women should prioritize careers or homemaking. What is even the anarchist answer to this question? Whoever wants to raise the kid should raise the kid. Just doesn't have anything to do with being a woman. It's that simple. Oh, well, Vosh, you aren't a mother if you have a child. Yeah, but then why wouldn't the father take care of the kid? I'm sorry, I misphrased. He wasn't presupposing that the mother is a kid. He was presupposing that the mother didn't have anyone else who could take that responsibility. What if it had said fathers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers? Do you think he would have said agree as well?
And poorly phrased, I wouldn't use their phrasing, but this test obviously was written by a lib.
This test was written by somebody who's capable of writing at an 8th grade level, and you are clearly not capable of reading at an 8th grade level. You are not smarter than this test, my dude. You are so smug. You're like a 13-year-old on Facebook. It is unbelievable how unearned your fucking your sense of confidence is here. It's unimaginable to me how any human being could be this stupid and still what. Yeah, Shapiro said the same thing. The thing is that fucking subhumanly stupid troglodytes like this guy, they read quizzes like this, and because they don't immediately understand everything because of their low IQ, they assume that the test is biased against them in some way.
Multinational companies are unethically exploiting the plant genetic resources of developing countries. Nah, give me a break. Strongly disagree.
Yeah, that one was too lib for him. That one was too high IQ for him. He doesn't know what that means. I guarantee you that if I tried to ask him, like, what does exploiting the plant genetic resources mean? He would say, is that a part of critical race theory? He doesn't know.
Making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity.
He has to agree with this one.
I do agree with that.
Yeah.
Little kids want to rebel against everything, and they're like rebels without a cause, and they're pissed off at their...
And, the founding fathers of the United States, and, the civil rights protesters, and, the suffragettes, and, every civil rights movement in the history of humanity. Just children, I guess.
Parents, and it's much more mature, however, to recognize that you didn't just pop into being and out of thin air. You come from a tradition, and maybe you want to improve that tradition, sure, but you have to reconcile yourself to reality before you can do that.
The question wasn't, do you recognize that you come from reality? The question was about making peace with authority.
Astrology accurately explains many things. So this one maybe could be unexpected. I think that's possibly true.
I knew it. The authoritarian mind believes in essentialist personality traits. I've talked about this before, but this is consistently true. This is consistently true. You wouldn't expect a guy who looks like this would agree with this, but the reason for that is very, very clear. Fascists and other authoritarians love the occult, and the reason for that is because they're obsessed with the idea of people's minds and bodies being determined by pre-existing physical conditions, rather than them being determined by social conditions. Sociology is the enemy of these people. They despise sociology. What was the name of that Nazi who wrote a big treatise on how sociology is useless? It was like in the 1980s or 90s. He was an American Nazi. Does anyone know what I'm referring to here? Got like a half memory of this. He wrote this big thing on how sociology is a useless field. And the reason for that is, of course, because they don't want you focusing on the actual reasons why people are the way they are. They want you to think it's all race and nation. Oh, yeah, I think it was Rockwell.
I'm not someone to totally write off astrology. The Bible tells us not to consult astrologers, not because astrology is totally, completely without any merit or reality. They tell us not to because it's evil and it compromises our free will. So I guess I don't know, does it accurately explain many things? What does astrology do? You mean the things you read in the newspaper, or astrology?
I can't fathom the inside of this guy's brain right now.
Suggesting that there is some rhythm to the universe. I guess I would have to agree, but I would encourage you.
There we go.
Never consult astrologers. You cannot be moral without being...
So I think his answer is that astrology is real, but you shouldn't consult witches because their witchcraft deceives and misleads you. Is that the answer? It's real, but it's evil? Is that... Okay.
Religious. You can be accidentally moral, and most people who say they're not religious are very religious. The actor Idris Elba just said that the Earth, which is a rock, by the way, gave us coronavirus because it's pissed off that we're throwing litter into the streets, or we're throwing plastic to the baby turtles. So that's a very religious idea. That's called pantheism. Some people say they're not...
I think that might have been more an alliterative comment about how the conditions which led to coronavirus were rooted heavily in animal exploitation and urban industrialization. That's not what pantheism is.
Religious at all, but actually men can become women because your body...
You claim to be an atheist, Mr. Liberal, but you say a man can become a woman? Clearly only magic can produce that transition. I've done this one before, but excuse me, Liberal. Can something be blue and yellow at the same time? No? They're opposites? Well, kind of opposites. Well, what if you... How did you do that? How did you do... Which? I love they do this all the time. They're like you think men can be women? Well, I think people who identify as men can identify as women. Like later they can see there's a temporal element here. You're one and then you're the other. Things change. I was once 4 feet tall. I'm now 6'2". My hair used to be lighter. Can a blonde be a brunette? No. Well, a blonde can age and their hair gets darker. Like, it's such a simplistic, such like a juvenile understanding of the world.
It has nothing to do with who you really are. That's a religious idea that's called Gnosticism.
That's not what Gnosticism is or means.
So their morality, which is a perverted morality, that has a basis in religion. Strongly agree. Charity is better than Social Security as a means of helping the genuinely disadvantaged. Who's disadvantaged? I mean, that's loaded terminology anyway. Charity is better in that...
What is your argument against morality not existing within the foundation of religion? Dude. Okay, wait, hold on. We can go over a couple points in this. Morality doesn't stem from religion. Even if you believe in religion, morality still doesn't stem from it without a presupposition you have to make. If you believe in an all-powerful God, you have to believe in fucking divine command theory in order for you to believe that the commandments of those gods, or of that God, is like the moral word of the world. Like, there's always some sort of axiomatic or epistemological presupposition that you have to make. Always.
That charity is a moral exchange. So when I give charity, some guy asks me for charity, I feel the grace, the goodness, the virtue of that act of charity. The beggar feels gratitude to me for what I did, and that's a nice moral relationship. Taxation, which is what they're talking about here with Social Security, there is no moral relationship. I think Dinesh D'Souza once explained this as the beggar...
This is actually, first of all, if you ever cite Dinesh D'Souza for anything, you have completely invalidated your own argument. But second of all, I think this actually perfectly explains the opposite of his point, if you think about it. He's saying that he prefers charity because it relies on kindness, as opposed to taxation, which just relies on an amoral mechanism of government. Motherfucker, I do not want the well-being of people in my country to be determined by how nice richer people are feeling on that day. I want their well-being to be a secure, guaranteed facility of the country's functioning. I don't want kindness to have anything to do with it. I want these people to have the time and room and space and money to build kindness of their own, with interpersonal reactions of their own. Not for all the kindness they see in their lives to be determined by the generosity and fucking tax write-off benefits wealthy people get when they donate to charities.
Asks me for my sandwich. I'm eating my sandwich and enjoying it. And then Barack Obama rides up on a white horse and points a gun at my head and says, "Give the beggar your sandwich." I don't feel the act of charity because I didn't choose to give charity. The beggar doesn't feel gratitude, he feels entitlement. And
I think people are entitled to sandwiches. Yeah, I'll fucking say it. Yeah. If you're wealthy and you're shelling out fucking 98% of your upper fucking tax threshold to the government, which they redistribute, yeah, the people who get that money are entitled to it. Fuck you. You're not entitled to shit, fucking wealthy rich-ass boy. You think that sandwich is yours? That sandwich is the people. Did you fucking till the wheat to make the bread? Did you fucking grow the cow to cut to make the salami or whatever the fuck salami's made out of? It's our sandwich. Did you milk the cow for the cheese? Did you grow the lettuce? No. We all worked on it together. Give me my fucking sandwich back.
Obama feels that he's done something productive, even though he's done nothing at all other than point a gun at my head.
Well, he's given a homeless man a sandwich. Even in his own stupid hypothetical, he can't recognize the fact that now the homeless person doesn't starve to death. Isn't that nice? This guy can just go buy another sandwich. The homeless guy couldn't buy a sandwich, I assume. He's probably not doing great financially.
I guess I would have to agree.
Okay.
Some people are naturally unlucky.
They always have to, again, essentialism is a component of the authoritarian mind. They have to always say yes to this. And the reason they do this is because it's an explanation to them for why some people end up down in the dredges, in the dirt, in the ditch, and why some people end up getting wealthy fucking gig jobs at the Daily Wire, okay?
Yeah, Yeah, I think that's true. Agree. Strongly agree. People have disadvantages. Sometimes our suffering can become a great advantage because it deepens our understanding of the world. It is important
That has nothing to do with the question, but okay.
that my child's school instills religious values. I strongly agree. The trouble is, in public schools, they're instilling all the wrong kind of religious values.
What religious values are they instilling in schools?
They're instilling gender theory
That's not a religion.
in pre-kindergarten in Brooklyn.
You're instilling gender theory from fucking day one when you dress your infant in pink or in blue clothing, depending on which little jiggly bit of flesh it has between its legs, okay? You're the one who starts the gender indoctrination, my dude. Schools just explain the world as it is.
That's really happening right now. They instill all sorts of madness. Very often they instill a hatred of one's country.
Again, this guy's a nationalist, so you have to expect this. This is, if people like this are put in power, that's why you get like the 1776 commission. That's like yeah. Have you ever seen like a little boy being put in shirts like Lady Lover and shit like that? Oh, dude, there's some cringy ass shit that goes on with hets and their fucking kids, you know? Yeah, or like the 2-year-old plays at the playground, and after they come back, you're like, who's that girlfriend you met? Because they talk to some other blubbling little fucking disease magnet baby on the other side of the playground for 2 seconds. Yeah, fucking hets. Ree! It's true, though.
They instill a hatred of one's civilization.
Again, this is dog whistling. I don't know how else to... This is absolutely... yeah, liberal public schools are telling you how to hate your civilization and your nation. If he said hate your race, it would be more obvious. But when you're talking about civilization, and then you're working for a publication that talks about how the gains and benefits of Western civilization are predominantly from white people, it's pretty clear what you're suggesting. The only obligation schools have is to tell the truth. And notice how he's not accusing them of telling lies. He's only saying he doesn't like the truth they tell.
So I do agree that it's...
Sorry, America is just so unlikable, dipshit.
It's important. We just got to make sure they're teaching the right religious values. Sex outside marriage is usually immoral. Strongly agree. A same-sex couple in a...
That's not what your mom was telling me last night, Michael.
Stable, loving relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of child adoption. Well, I suppose you got to weigh the alternatives here. Are you talking about a world in which there are zillions of newborn babies who are being put up for adoption and not enough homes for those newborn babies?
What about the world we're in right now, Michael? What about the world we're in currently, which is the world where you're taking this test? What about the world we're currently in?
To be adopted into? Because that's not the world we live in. The world we live in, there are 32 couples waiting to adopt for every newborn that's put up for adoption in the United States.
And yet there are tons of unadopted kids. Usually because the parents who want to adopt only want to adopt a very specific kind of kid. The people who want to adopt kids usually want to adopt healthy, able-bodied, young, white girls, mostly. That's the specific collection of combination, or like the combination of characteristics they're looking to get, you know? That's what they want. So what about all the other kids?
So at that point, you have to come to a decision. What is the best place for a child to be raised in? And if you believe that men and women are different,
I knew where we're getting at this,
and they complement one another, and that a child ought to have a right to a mother and father, then surely you have to disagree with this question.
I know you do. Just say you're disgusted by gay people, okay? By the way, there's been plenty of data, plenty of studies done on this. There is no evidence that having gay parents leads to a disadvantaged upbringing in any way. The idea, guys, the idea that like one man, one woman is the right way to raise children, do you think that's how they were raising children in medieval Europe? Do you think it was just one man, one woman? First of all, the men were all dead because they kept getting recruited to fight in the 100 Years' War. They were usually raised by like uncles and mothers. People would die all the time. Moms would die during childbirth. You get raised by grandparents. You would get raised by your neighbors. You would get raised by anyone available to raise you. And if you go back farther than that, what about the fucking Vikings, dude? You think they had fucking nuclear families? The farther back you go, the less we had this bullshit one parent, one father, one mother shit. The further back you go, the more you have collective child raising, the more you have communal child raising. It takes a village to raise a child. That's the healthiest way for children to be for children to be raised. What we do right now is isolating, it's antisocial, it's alienating, it ill-equips our children to engage with others fairly and reasonably, which is why so many like single child kids end up being a little fucking weird because they didn't get enough socializing time. It's why it's recommended that parents send their kids to daycare as early as possible to get them familiar with socialization, which humans have been doing for hundreds of thousands of years and only recently have stopped doing. Yeah, all of this myth that like one man, one woman's the ideal thing to raise the children, pushed by propagandistic fucking Protestants, okay, in America. Protestants 500 years ago weren't doing this shit. It's modern tradcon bullshit. Fuck it.
Which I do. Pornography depicting consenting adults should be legal for the adult population.
Are you gonna ban my pornography?
Well, this question ignores federalism, for one.
What?
It ignores the wills of local populations.
No, it doesn't. They're asking you. What the fuck do you mean? They're asking you. Jesus Christ. This question could be like, do you think porn should be illegal? And he'd be like, well, you have to take into consideration state law.
It ignores the type of pornography, some of which is truly obscene, and
I think we're just talking about pornography in general. Like, just general pornography. Not like fucking child porn. It says consenting adults. What do you mean by obscene? Do you mean anal?
That's only porn stuff.
True. True.
Would jail people for it on the federal level as recently as 10 or 11 years ago. So
he means double anal. He's okay with one penis in the ass, but when they do the thing where two penises both go in the ass at the same time and they just kind of like slip next to each other, he's not okay with that. And frankly, just from what I've said, it doesn't look particularly comfortable for anybody involved. But if you guys enjoy it, listen, I think that should be legal, okay?
I would have to disagree with that. Not strongly disagree,
Thank you.
But disagree. What goes on in a private bedroom between consenting adults is no business of the state. I don't know what's going on in there. Is the guy like smacking the lady around and tying her up and putting cigarettes out on her forehead? Because then I think it...
Consenting adults! Consenting adult! You are so stupid! Consenting! Do you know what these words mean? He doesn't know what consenting means, which might bode well for previous relationships he's had.
I like smacking the lady around and tying her up and putting cigarettes out on her forehead, because then I think it is the business of everybody. Some people say you can't legislate morality. All laws legislate moralities.
That is true. That is a phrase that I really don't like. When people say you can't legislate morality, law is literally codified morality. Every law is just an attempt to try to impose some kind of moral reality. Still think people should be able to do what they want in the bedroom as long as it's all consensual and fine above board, you know?
So I disagree with that. No one can feel naturally homosexual. No, I think people can probably feel naturally homosexual. Now, what you do at that point is probably a question for your religious point of view or your moral or ethical point of view, but I'm sure there are natural longings. These days...
Oh yeah, it is generally the case that conservatives don't understand consent. Conservatives don't really understand anything other than power, so to them, if you can have sex, like, that's that, you know? The idea of, like, a sort of reciprocal awareness of what everyone in the situation wants it's like their mind doesn't even go to that. Who was it? Was it Glenn Beck or was it Sean Hannity? Who was it who said the one magic word that explains everything the left believes in is consent? If you consent to it, then you can do whatever you want to each other. Which one of them? Was it Limbaugh? It was Rush Limbaugh. Gotcha. Yeah. But he said it like it was crazy or incredulous. It's this? Wait, how'd you find it that quickly?
Okay, now to this story on hypocrisy, and I know we're going to get to people on the phones. You're chomping at the bit out there to get in on this. I know you are, and we're going to come to you right after the upcoming break. But, you know, we like talk here about hypocrisy all the time, and we wring our hands and we express our frustration. How come hypocrisy never attaches itself to the Democrats, yet when it comes to Republicans, it's become a crime? Hypocrisy is a crime when Republicans are caught in it. And yet it never even attaches to Democrats. So there's a piece here called The Ugly Stench of Hypocrisy by Michael J. Hurd, Ph.D. He's a Ph.D. in psychology, Living Resources Center. The most insightful thing I've read yet about the Donald Trump sex talk scandal is this. But let me give you some pull quotes here before. Well, now I'll read the opening of the story and then get to the pull quotes. This is actually from 3 days ago. It just took a while for our sources to come up with it, but we've got it.
This guy's like the most popular talk radio guy in the country, right? Is he still, or was there another guy who took over that position? Imagine listening to this shit on your way to and from work every day.
The most insightful thing I've read yet about the Donald Trump sex talk scandal is this. How ironic, then, that a culture which rejects moral standards, and make no bones, folks, we do. Standards, moral standards. You stand up for moral standards, you're going to be mocked and laughed out of the room. They're going to call you a prude. They're going to call you a Victorian. They're going to call you an old fuddy-duddy, an old fogey, and they're going to claim you want to deny people having a good time. So, a culture which rejects moral standards. In other words, anything goes. You know what the magic word? The only thing that matters in American sexual mores today is one thing. You can do anything. The left will promote and understand and tolerate anything as long as there is one element. Do you know what it is? Consent.
Damn.
If there is consent on both or all three or all four, however many are involved in the sex act, it's perfectly fine, whatever it is. But if the left ever senses and smells that there's no consent in part of the equation, then here come the rape police.
Yes. The rape police.
But consent,
also known as the regular police. This guy probably doesn't believe rape is a thing.
is the magic key to the left.
Very nice. Anyway, yeah, that pretty much describes like every conservative's position on. He's probably a fan of spousal rape. Dude, didn't Dennis Prager literally write like multiple essays and videos and shit on how spousal rape isn't really a thing? These people are these people's motivations are written pretty clear on the sides of their of their shafts, you know?
Openness about sex has gone too far. Strongly agree. I just read a New York City sex guide to surviving the coronavirus pandemic, and it was the filthiest document I've read.
Damn, dude. Stay mad. I don't give a fuck. Quit being such a fucking snowflake. Why'd you read it then? If you don't like it, don't read it. Nobody forced you to read it. I'm sorry, were you forced to read it by the state?
Probably years. So yeah, it's gone too far.
Wait, hold on. I'm really curious what this guy thinks is dirty. Hold on.
A New York City sex guide to surviving the coronavirus.
Hold on. New York City sex guide surviving the coronavirus. Is this safer sex and COVID-19? Okay, wait. New York City's official guide. This is from BuzzFeed News, so this seems... New York City issued an advisory for residents on best practices for sex during the coronavirus outbreak and has provided some much-needed guidance and humor. Okay, let's see. Encourages masturbation, says don't have sex with anyone outside of your household. Halt dating and hookups. Wait, is this it? This is... Wait, hold on. Okay, hold on. Here it is. This doesn't have, like, pictures or whatever. This is what we're talking about right here? This... Warnings on COVID-19. Have sex only with people close to you. You should limit close contact, including sex with anyone outside of your household. This is what this guy... If two is company, then three or more is definitely a crowd. Consistent sex partner. Pick larger, more open, more ventilated spaces. Wear a face covering, avoid kissing. Wait, I thought this would be great for Michael Knowles. Hold on. Get tested. Rimming might spread the virus. Kissing can easily pass the virus. Make it a little kinky. Be creative with sexual positions and physical barriers like walls that allow sexual contact while preventing close face-to-face contact. Masturbate together. Condoms, dental dams should be used. Skip sex if you're not feeling well. This is it? Advocacy for glory holes and saying that kissing and rimming can spread COVID-19. That's it? That's the filthiest thing this guy has read in a long time? Jesus Christ.
Pandemic, and it was the filthiest document I've read in probably years.
An official NYC document, a bullet point list encouraging people to be safe during COVID-19. This guy's like fucking got his legs together while he's reading it. His wife comes in, he puts a pillow on his lap like, hey dear.
So yeah, is it gone too far? I tweeted it out and it got so much play they ended up deleting it. So I'm doing my part to turn back the tide.
Wait, I just saw it. That was on a government website. Wait, okay.
Sexual revolution. Let's see where I stand. Okay, so it's telling me all the different places.
Let's get it.
Stalin is the authoritarian left. I said Bernie Sanders. Gandhi is the libertarian left. Hitler is the authoritarian right. Thatcher is the authoritarian right. I like that the only one of these grids that they put two people into is Hitler and Margaret Thatcher. Like, okay, guys, cool.
Matt?
Everyone else, libertarian right is Milton Friedman. Libertarian left is Gandhi. Authoritarian left is Stalin. But then you got Hitler, and Margaret Thatcher.
Are you mad? Are you like mad about it? You're probably about to be pretty close to her. I don't know. You're probably going to be like center authoritarian or something like that.
Iron Lady. Okay, the Iron Cross and the Iron Lady. I am, as I predicted, slightly on the authoritarian right. 1.5 to the right on economics. I scored a 3.69 to authoritarian. So I'm almost exactly where I predicted I would be.
I have to tell you again, with how biased this test is towards lib left, you have to try really fucking hard to go that far into auth right.
Despite all of their extremely dumb questions.
Despite all the questions he couldn't understand and thought that he was outsmarting by demonstrating his ignorance of. All right, that's enough of this shit, dude. This guy is actually stupider than Ben Shapiro. What an incredible individual. That is really amazing. Check out this hilarious Michael Knowles shit. The Daily Wire is a cesspool of bigotry and hatred. Well, sure.